Hi guys, today I'll be taking a look at what I like to call a modern classic, the Zeal PC Zealio switch. Let's get started. Now, before I get to the meat of things, a disclaimer. This review will focus on the V1 and the 67-gram variant of the Zealio switches. Keep that in mind. So anyway, Zealio switches are the modern equivalent to the ErgoClear mod, in which the spring of a Cherry MX Clear switch is swapped with a lighter spring to increase tactility. Yes, spring's weighting affects tactility. They come in 4 different weightings, 62, 65, 67 and 78 grams, all measured in bottom-out force. They also have different shades of purple depending on the weighting. The heavier the switch, the darker shade of purple. It's a nice touch, I haven't really seen that before. Furthermore, Zealio switches are produced for Zeal PC by Gateron, and as far as I'm aware, this has always been the case, at least for genuine versions. Yes, there are fake Zealio switches out there, but it's pretty much a non-issue nowadays. Now, in terms of pricing, these currently go for around £9 for 10 switches on Zeal PC's website, placing them in the enthusiast category, which makes sense. And this is what they look like when disassembled. Feel free to pause the video. Now, let's move on to the switch categories. On-center key presses are very smooth with only hints of scratchiness, especially towards the bottom of the travel, but it's barely noticeable during normal use. Off-center key presses are still smooth, however the scratchiness is a bit more noticeable, especially when gaming, but not so much so for typing per se. Overall, there's a few nitpicks here and there, but these are smooth switches. 7 out of 10. Now, the weighting of the 67-gram variant is light to medium stiff with roughly 0.4mm of pre-travel. The tactile bump peaks at roughly 50 grams at 1.3mm and is fairly rounded and drawn out in terms of key feel. Personally, I dislike the weighting of these switches in comparison to the Cherry MX Clear as it is a lighter weighting. Additionally, I was more comfortable with the MX Clears as well as I could type more reliably with those, but I can see why someone could really be into these. Overall, the weighting isn't bad or anything, it's actually the opposite, it's quite good, but not award-winning amazing. 7 out of 10. Sound is refreshingly nice. I did have the tendency to bottom out these switches, which is where most of the sound comes from, and it's a fairly nice sound. 7 out of 10. Now, take a listen and enjoy. Now, typing on these have given me a good experience. It's definitely an improvement over most tactile MX clones in both smoothness and tactility. However, compared to the MX Clear, it does lack in the comfort department for me as it has a much lighter weighting. Now, I want to get one thing clear. Yes, these are smoother and more tactile than the MX Clear. That much is obvious, but that doesn't mean it's a better switch, at least not in my definition. A lot more has to go into a switch than just making it smoother and more tactile. Although this is a good start, it's just not my cup of tea. Overall, I do like the smoothness and tactility of these switches, I really do. That's what really sells these. But it has enough downsides that I personally couldn't live with it. 7 out of 10. Now, gaming on these was a great experience. The smoothness and consistency really set it apart from other MX tactile switches like the Gateron Brown for example. I do however have to admit that at first I found the tactility to be a bit much for gaming, but it didn't take long for me to adjust. Additionally, I liked how it performed in fast-paced environments. Relying on just the tactility was far more consistent to the MX Clear. That's a big thumbs up from me. Overall, as a high-end tactile switch, it performs well. However, you probably will end up bottoming out quite often, as it is quite a tactile switch for this application, but it's an improvement over many other MX clones. 7 out of 10. In conclusion, these are smooth and consistent tactile switches worth considering if you can stomach the price tag. The final score for this switch is 35 out of 50 or 70%, just behind the MX Clear. Anyway, next time I'll be looking at another tactile switch from a manufacturer I've yet to cover. Until then, take care and goodbye.